So good evening to everybody once again. The topic we have today is called time and price. Okay, time and price. Time and price. This is more practical. I don't think we. It is more of practical. Okay, we are done with theories. So, what is time and price, or what does time and price means when it comes to trading? Now, if you notice, we started with this topic, and I made you to understand that it's a global financial market. Right? It's a global financial market, which means it has to do with almost every country or every continent in the world. Okay. So, which means that now you will notice that there are daylight data, like currently now, some people are in the night and some people are during the day. You understand? Their services are going on. Now you will notice that we have these time changes. So that's when this particular time comes into play in the foreign exchange market. Remember, it's a global market. It doesn't mean that at this time now, because the people that are mostly in the Central African countries, they are going to be like sleeping now, and maybe those who are in other countries now, they will be awake doing their transactions on the working on the banks and so on. So people will actually be going to work now and so on. So you will notice that time here plays a vital role in forex trading. It plays a very big role in forex trading. So now, because of these time changes, the foreign exchange market, okay, the foreign exchange market time is divided into sessions. Okay, it's divided into sessions, and we are going to be looking at those particular sessions. We're going to be looking at those sessions. Now, the first session, we have like about 4 sessions. Okay, we have like about 4 sessions, which are they're divided. The time is divided into about 4 sessions. Okay, but as we go deeper, we're going to focus more on 3 of the sessions. Now, the first session that we have here is called the Sydney. Okay, let me just type that. It's called the Sydney session. This Sydney session, let me reduce the size. Now, this Sydney session here is mostly focused on countries for the Australia, okay, Australian countries. Let me put this Australia, Australia. That Australia. Typing is really slow. Okay. So the first one is called Sydney session, which is mainly for Australian countries. But this doesn't mean that if you are in USA, you cannot trade at any time, or if you're in Cameroon or Nigeria, you can trade at any time. Okay, you can trade at any time. But the difference comes in is that there are countries that have a the volume of transaction that will make the market to be very volatile. Okay, that will make prices to move very fast, as we're going to see as we continue. So this is the first session that we have, and then the second one here is the Tokyo session. Okay, the second one on the list is the Tokyo session, and then this Tokyo session is mainly Japan. It's mainly with Japan, yeah. Okay. All right. Now we have the third one. The third one that we have is the London session. London session. London session. And this London's, let me see. London should be having an in here. Okay. So this London session here is based on, we have London and UK. Okay. United Kingdom. That's the third. Then the fourth one on the list is the New York session. New York session. This New York session now is mainly, we have New York and United States, USA. So these are the 4 main sessions that we have in Forex trading. Should I make it what? I want to make it into bigger. Okay. So these are the 4 main sessions that we have in trading. Now, the first one, like I said, is a senior session. This senior session is, we have Australian session and the Asian countries. Okay. Now we have Tokyo session, which is mainly for the Japan, and then we have London session, which we have London, UK, right? The states on these particular countries. Now we have the New York session, which is mainly for the New York states and the United States. Okay. Now these are the main sessions that are in trading. Now with the first session and the second one, all right, these particular sessions, they are not really volatile. Okay, they are not really volatile. Why are they not volatile? This is because these pairs here, they barely have the United States. All right, at this time, the United States, the US dollar is not highly traded. Okay, which means that the time zone within this period is not the time zone that the London and the New York traders will be effectively trading. Okay, so with at this time, with this monthly, they are actually divided into 2, and these 2 here are grouped to form what we call the Asian session. Okay, so we have the Asian session here. This is the Asian session. These 2 are form the Asian session. This one now forms the London session, and then this one forms the New York session. Okay, so these are the 3 main trading sessions that we are going to be looking at. You might now forget about this, but this was just to make you understand that these are the countries that are in this particular session. These are these countries that are in this particular session. So with the Asian session, most of the Australian states, Japan states, these central banks and all the rest, these financial institutions within these states, within these countries, all right, they are open at that time. Okay, and a lot of transactions are going on, and it makes the market to be very volatile. It's the same thing here with the London session. When the London session is open, which means that at that time it opens around 8, okay, opens around 9. Now at 9 o'clock, you will notice I'm talking about 9 o'clock with the Central African time, okay, with the Central African time. Now when the London session opens, when the London session opens, you will now notice a lot of volatility in the market. We're going to see it practically because at this time, a lot of traders, a lot of central banks are open. Banks are open everywhere, and that brings in a lot of transactions. So the market tends to move very fast. Okay, it's the same thing with the New York session. Now, there is another thing. The London session, when it opens, before it closes, New York session opens within the London time. Okay, it doesn't mean that the Asian traders must trade and go and sleep before London session. No, it doesn't mean like they overlap. Okay, they overlap, and the main overlap in here comes within the London session and the New York session. With the time that London session overlaps with New York session, that's when there is high volatility in the market. Okay, the market tends to move very fast. It tends to trend. Okay, it tends to move in a trending direction. But now, during the Asian session, like I said, there is actually no high volatility. You will notice the market tends to contract. The market will tend to be in a ranging market. But when during London opens, the market can either start trending down or it starts trending up. Okay, and then during New York, it continues trending or it can reverse to trend down and so on. But now you notice that most of the time during the Asian session, the market tends to contract. The market tends to move in a ranging market. It barely trends, but this doesn't mean that all the time it ranges. Okay, there are times that you're going to see the Asian session, it's going to be in a trending market. Now, this should not be too hard for you because there are indicators that you can use, and then they will actually mark these particular times out for you on your chart. Remember the topic we are talking about, time and price. Okay, we are talking about time and price. And the Forex market, as you should know by now, it operates 24 hours a day and then 5 days a week. So this is because of this is divided now into these several financial centers because of different time zones. Okay, it is because of different time zones. So we have these four particular times, 4 particular sessions, and now we are going to start to check at what time this session opens, at what time this session opens. Okay, that's what we are going to be looking at right now. Let me clear these drawings. Okay. Now we are going to start first with the Sydney session. What time does the Sydney session opens? Right now, I'm currently in Cameroon, so I'm going to be giving you the time based on GMT +1. Okay, I'm going to be giving you the time based on GMT +1. If you are in another time zone, you can now convert it to your own time zone so that you'll be able to help you. All right. Because if you're operating on a different time zone, like for example, there is a time that London, we might be trading London session here in the early morning. Meanwhile, people in Canada or other sides of the world, they are like it's getting to time for them to instead be sleeping. You understand? So you will have to convert this time so that you will know the time that this session is currently on and the time that this session is not active. Okay, it is very, very important. Everything here, because there are so many characteristics with price. Okay, there are certain movements in price that happens during particular sessions, during certain times of the day. Like I said, we are going to look at the chart. Okay, now let me just quickly do that even right now so that we'll see something that happened today. Okay, now this was today. Where did price open today? Price opened at this point. Okay, this was where price opened today at this point here. Now, this was the opening price for today at this point. Okay, now you will notice that from here to around this point, price was barely going nowhere, right? But now, what happened at this point? This was exactly at 7:30 a.m. Price started to trend. Okay, but within this time, it was hardly going up. But when this time reached, it started to go up heavily. And when it went up to a certain point, it started coming back down heavily as well. So these are based, these things they happen based on time, and which is the time here is based on sessions. Okay, the time here that we're talking about is based on sessions. So let's go back to check the times of these particular sessions. All right, let me see where my drawing is. Now we're going to start with the Sydney session. Now for the Sydney session, it opens at 12 a.m. Okay, it opens at 12 a.m. That's midnight. 12 a.m. right in the night. Where do I have my, okay. Sydney session opens at 12 a.m. Oh, God. This opens at 12 a.m., 12:00, and then it goes right up to 9 a.m., 9:00 a.m. Okay. So this is for the Sydney session. Sydney session opens at 12:00 a.m. and it goes right down to 9 a.m. in the morning. Okay. Now, for the Tokyo session opens at 2 a.m. Okay. That's 2 a.m. That's slightly 2 hours away from 12. So it opens at 2 a.m. and it goes right down to 11 a.m. Okay. It goes right down to 11 a.m. That's for Tokyo session. Now, about the London session opens at 9 a.m. Okay, this is the times where the banks open at this time. So it opens at 9 a.m. and it goes right throughout the day to 5 a.m. So you'll notice that the banks at this point, okay, let me put somebody's busy right on my screen. So right up to 5 a.m. Okay, so we have New York session. New York session opens. New York session opens at 2:00 a.m. to 11 p.m. So 11 p.m. 11 p.m. Let's put that. Okay. Now this is how the time zones are. Okay. Remember, all this time here is based on GMT plus one. Let me put that GMT plus one. GMT plus one. What is that? GMT plus one. Okay. All this time zone is based on GMT plus one. So if you're in a different time zone, like I said, you can be able to convert it to your own time zone, right? There are so many time converters on the net now, so you can easily use that to convert it. So we have Sydney session, which is based on the Australian states, which opens at 12 a.m. in the night and it ends at 9 a.m. Okay. Now, Tokyo session opens 2 a.m. right down to 11 a.m. Now, you'll notice that this Sydney session ends at 9, but New York, the Tokyo session starts at 2 a.m., which means around 2 a.m., the Tokyo session will open, and then this Sydney session will still be on. Okay, so most of that is why they brought them together to form the Asian session. It's called the Asian. That is, it is based for the Asian countries. Okay. Now we have the London session. The London session here opens at 9 to 5 a.m. This is actually the time where the banks open at this time. The banks open and so on. So transaction starts to go on, and then they close at 5 a.m. Now, during the New York session, the New York session opens at 2. Now, there is something here very important. Like I said, these are the most traded sessions. Okay, these are the most traded sessions. These two sessions are the most traded sessions in Forex. So now with these two sessions, the London and the New York session, if you notice here, you will notice that this opens at 9 and it ends at 5. But now New York session opens at 2, which means that we have 2, we have 3, and we have 4 right up to 5. Okay. And now this is the time that this opens. So London session ends at this time, which means before this time, let's say this is how London is. London opens at 9 to 5. Okay, so mean that we have 10, we have 11, we have 12, we have 1. This is have 1 here. Then we have 2, we have 3, we have 4, and then we have 5. Okay, if that is the case for London session, then now New York session opens at 2, which means that at this point, New York session opens and it goes right up to 11 p.m. at night. Okay, which means that right now, New York session is still open. Okay, New York session is still open. Now, this is the secret here. Within this time, right up to 5 from here, we have 2, right up to 5. Within this, between these two, between this overlapping here, there is actually high volatility in the market. Okay, there's actually high volatility in the market, but this doesn't mean that at the beginning at 9 o'clock here, there is no volatility. Now, for most of you that are already advanced in trading, there are times there are also time zones we call London kill zone, New York kill zone. That's actually for advanced traders, but we are going to go into that as we move on. Okay, like you're going to notice pre-London, that's London kill zone, which is based on pre-London, like the market is preparing to enter the session and there's a volatility. Okay, which means that despite the fact that the London session opens at 9, before 9, actually, there's going to be a lot of volatility. So please, you say the London session ends at 5 a.m., but you counted and ended in. No. I said London session ends at 5 p.m. Sorry. It ends at 5 p.m., which means that London session is already closed now. Okay, London is closed already. Sorry about my writing. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, it closes at PM. We have PM here. Okay, Sorry about that. Thank you very much. So London session opens at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Okay. So it has already ended. The London session has closed. But this does not mean that the market has closed. Even if you're in London, you can still be able to trade. Okay, but the session has closed, which means the volatility has reduced. Most of their transactions, their banks have closed. Okay, those are the implications of these trading sessions. All right. The people now that are in London, they're actually not effectively trading. All right. They are not effectively trading. That's why the session is closed. But this doesn't mean that if you're there, you cannot trade. Like we say, the market opens, it trades 24 hours a day. Okay. Which means if whether you are in Australia, you are in Japan, you are in Asia, you can trade at any time. But there are sessions that volatility comes in. Now, if you are trading during the Asian session, you will not be expecting price to be moving very fast. All right. But now, what if you are not expecting price to be moving very fast and you are trading with that mindset, expecting low delivery, and you go into London session without knowing, you actually start seeing price running very fast up and down. Okay, let me just give you an example. Let me just give you an example of how price actually moves during this time, during the time of the London session. Let's say it can actually move something like this. Okay. No, this is too fast. This is too fast. Let's put it like this. It's even too fast again. Okay, something like this. It's really a little bit faster. This is just to make you understand that during the London session and the New York session, there is actually high volatility in the marketplace. Okay, there is actually high volatility in the marketplace. So now, but now, if you are uh, in if you're in countries like United States, Canada, UK, European countries, you're in Australia, New Zealand, or Mexico. Now there are actually what we call daylight saving mode, okay, or daylight saving time. All right, which means that there are during the springtime places are too warm, and it's the daylight saving time here. It's a practice, okay, by these countries whereas when during warmer times, they tend to forward their clocks. Okay, they tend to forward their time, which means that if their current time now is like 2, okay, according to how their practice, they will forward it to 3. Okay, they'll forward it to 3. Now, this daylight saving mode for them, all right, it doesn't affect the Central African states. Okay, it doesn't affect the Central African states or countries like Japan. We have China, India, and Russia, even Arizona. Now, but during the United States, we have countries like we have states like Arizona and even Hawaii. Okay, they don't respect these practices, but for countries like we have like states like the United States, we have Canada, UK, European countries, Australia, New Zealand, and Mexico. These are most of the countries that respect this daylight saving mode. Okay, the daylight saving time. So that's nothing to really worry about. But the main thing here is for you to understand that Forex is traded in sessions. Okay, like for me personally, I trade London session, and I'm going to show you on the chart with the help of an indicator. You can have it as well, but it's not really a must, because just looking at your own time, okay, on your phone, if you know that this is 7 a.m. in the morning, you should be expecting volatility. You know that it is 1 o'clock, you should be expecting volatility. If it is midnight, you should be expecting prices to be very slow. Okay, it should be 10 o'clock to this time, you should be expecting low prices, low volatility. That means prices will be moving very small. Okay, but now there are also indicators that will help you to do that. Now, why I brought up this topic in the middle of our market structure is for us to, if for you to understand it before we get deeper into market structure, because uh there are so many things that we'll look into when Now, there are times that the market is going to be trending within the day, like the 15 minutes. Okay, like let's look at this time. Like I said, the market opened here. Now, there are times that you're going to be expecting a correction, an impulsive move, a correction, and an impulsive move. Okay. And this, you expect this. There are times, that is, you have a time that you expect a pullback. You expect a pullback based on time. Okay. It's based on time. Like pullbacks, they form at this particular time most of the time. So it's, if you know about time and price, it's going to help you a lot. Okay. Now, this is the indicator we have. If you go to, there are actually so many indicators. If you go to indicators here, okay, you can choose and the indicator that you want, or you can just type from indicators. You can now search. All right, you can search Asian range. This one is for the Asian, but now we want to look at sessions. Okay, so you can type sessions and then you take by looks algo. All right, if you click by looks algo, then you should have this. Okay, you should have this. Now, remember I said we are focusing mainly on 3 sessions, which is the Asian session and the London session and then the New York session. Okay, now this is it here. This first box that you see here is the Asian session. And you'll notice by its characteristics that it was barely moving. Okay. You'll notice by its characteristics that it was actually barely moving. But now, when London session opened, what happened? You started to see price started trending up. Okay. And now when it pulled back down, New York session opened, and then another volatility came into the market. And you can see now that New York session is still open. Okay. New York session is still open. Now, this is the overlap between the London session and the New York session, as I mentioned. Okay, within 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Okay, because if you should follow my this thing, you should see here that we have 17:00, which is 5 o'clock, and then we have 14 here, which is actually 2 o'clock. Okay. Now, let's quickly go back and try to find out some certain things about price here. Let's see. I do not want this class to be really long, so we're going to end very soon. If you have a question, you should send it to the text box so that I'm going to see it. So we're not going to be long again. Now, look at this. This is another example here. This is another example. This is now the Asian session. Okay, it's still called the Sydney. Sydney is still Asian session. You'll notice that during this time, price was not barely doing anything, right? And then immediately it closes. We started seeing a huge expansion during the London session. This means when London session opens, there is volatility that is coming into the market. Same thing now. When New York session opens, during the overlap of the New York session and the London session, you saw another volatility coming. All right, price sold very fast. And now what happened? It went in again to Sydney session. That is how the cycle is. Okay, now let's look at this point again. This is the same thing here. During the Asian session, price was barely not going anywhere. And when London session opened with the blue box here, you notice price started dropping down, and then it started trending. Okay, it started trending during the London session and the New York session. Okay, now another example again here, you'll notice that during the Asian session here, price was barely moving. Okay, and when London opened, we had a nice sweep up, and then during the overlap of the London session and the New York session, we had price came down right down to this point, and then again expanded down. But during Sydney session or Asian session again, price started accumulating. Now, you will notice that anytime during the Asian session, actually, this Asian session is right at 9. Remember, I said I gave you the time. Okay. It is right at night. Right? Like looking at it from here, it's right, should be as from 12 a.m. in the night, and it ends around 5 a.m. Okay. Ends around 5 to 6 a.m. Okay. Now, remember I said why I was explaining about daylight saving mode is because this time these sessions, okay, these sessions, they approximate them due to the daylight saving time. All right. due to the daylight saving time. Remember, I say this states they're if we're talking about London during the warmer session, which is mostly during the springtime, they are going to be forwarding their times ahead. Okay, they forward their clocks ahead. All right, and it's mostly during the spring, and that's from around March, April, and maybe right up to November. Now they use what they call the fallback session, and then that is they bring back the clock time. Okay, so these times they are approximately, that's why I would say it ends at approximately 5 to 6, but this is the time you should expect London opening. All right, London time opens at 9. Okay, I'm not yet talking about London Q zone and New York Q zone. London session opens at 9. That's the standard time. Okay. But pre-London, which is around 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., there is volatility in the market. Okay. There is volatility in the market. And then pre-New York, which New York opens at 2, but between 12 to 2 p.m., there's pre-London New York volatility. The London session from 9 to 5. Okay. What's the best session to trade? All right, good. The best session to trade is the London session and the New York session. Okay. Most traders prefer the New York session because it's slightly not volatile like the London session, but I prefer the London session because in the morning hours, I might just trade 1 hour and I'm done for the day. But some people, they prefer to trade New York session, maybe due to their work schedule, right? Because you will not get, some people get up in the morning, they go to their workplaces, and maybe during that time they will have some free time. Now, even despite during the London session, there are times that we have London lunch, okay, where London workers, they go for lunch. All right. And during that time, which is within around 10 a.m. to 12, okay, there's actually going to be a slowdown for volatility. All right, that's during London launch. So those are just some basic things that you look at when you are trading. But for me personally, I trade the London session and the New York session, which means that within within 9, all right, within 9 to 2 or 3, that's my trading time. Okay, I can trade right up to 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., which is the end of the London session. Okay, but for me, I prefer to trade the London session. But you can trade both of them, London and New York session. I don't advise people to trade Asian session because of this low volatility. Okay, I don't actually advise people to trade Asian session. Okay, but if you can practice to trade it, if that's the time that you are awake, it's still possible. You can trade it. It's still the same thing. It's just that you can actually take a position before it moves a length of pips. It will take you some time. But with the London session, you can take a position within space of minutes. Price gives you the cash that you wanted, and you are out of the game. Some people, they don't have patience to wait too long and stuff like that. All right. So, like I said, I do not want this session to be really too long because I'm not really talking deep on uh, kill zones, but this is the general explanation of time and price when it comes to Forex. You now know why during sometimes price is actually not moving, and when London opens, price start trending with New York. Okay. You notice most of the time, all right, when price is not moving, London opens, it trends, and so on and so forth. But this does not mean that there are times that the London session will not trend, right? Like, for example, look at this here. But this one was based on a news release. I think it was FM, maybe NFP. Yeah, maybe it was NFP. NFP, non-farm payroll. This was a news release which gives a report of uh traders, a report of workers. Okay. So you notice here that during the Asian session, price was not actually moving. And when London opened, we expanded so much, and New York and so on. So let me see, guys, if we have. So please come again with the session time, please. Oh, is there a possibility to trade with taking time into correction? Is there a possibility to trade with? Guys, everything I've been explained already. Okay.